Welcome to the Draft Professor. This is your Tuesday night Buffalo Bills Draft Podcast edition of the Draft Professor with Jerry Ostrowski, Owen, and Randall. And we're going to be trying a new podcast format today. We're calling it a wide receiver countdown. I brainstormed it, and we think we can run with it, but we're about to find out how this goes. Jerry, as you look at the wide receiver room in Buffalo, what do you think Buffalo needs to accomplish when it adds a wide receiver?
Well, obviously they need to find somebody that can stretch the field a little bit and win in the deep third. Okay, I mean 20 plus as far as kind of what you're looking at. Somebody that can get open deep, can be a deep threat, and open up the middle of the field for others like a Kincaid. And even I think this year that Shakir is a guy that can run moderate routes very, very well. Not a lot of room in there for him to run routes because everything's compressed right now, right? This when you play against the Bills, it just seems everything's compressed, especially in the middle of the field. So get somebody that can win at the third level as far as deep and open things up for the other guys. And I think that'll be a big help. I mean, look at what Brandon Cooks brought, just minimal, and the impact he had, like it was this eureka moment, like we found water or oil or something, like, we're all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, we struck gold, right? And he was just a guy that's been in the league for however long, So it's something that we desperately need in this offense, and that's what they need to do in free agency and in the draft, I believe.
Okay. So Owen and Randall each have a top 15 wide receiver board. They're going to go through their guys one at a time. We're going to hopefully get through this part of the podcast quickly so we can focus on some of the guys at the top. But Owen, who is your 15th wide receiver that could help the Buffalo Bills in the draft?
Yeah, so these aren't organized in my exact grades specifically. These are more so grades mixed with how I think they fit with the Bills and kind of what Jerry outlined there. So there's going to be a bit of a difference in my order, but my number 15 guy and someone who I think is going to play into a little bit what Jerry was talking about there is going to be De'Zhaun Stribling, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. Somebody I was high on when he was at Oklahoma State, and then there you go, Jerry, shouting out the state of Oklahoma for you early on in this podcast. But then he moved over to Ole Miss and didn't really come along while Lane Kiffin was there. And then as soon as he exited for LSU, very, amicably with the team, they started implementing some different offensive structure. You saw a lot of guys kind of start clicking there with Trinidad Chambliss starting to play better towards the tail end of that season. And you saw that a lot with Stribling as well, who really picked up his game and started producing more. He's a big-bodied guy who is going to win with some speed. He ran really well at the combine this past week. And he shows that off a lot in his game where he's able to go upfield and win vertically, kind of get guys to draw attention to him. And even with the ball in his hands, he can still burst upfield and get some good speed going there. Does little things with blocking. I don't think he is this technical route runner. He's more of like this bigger guy who wins with a lot of power and speed. So if you're looking for a guy who's going to be more refined and really win with by creating separation, you're not going to find it here. This is going to be more so what you might be getting in free agency if you target like a Mike Evans or some other players that are going to be filling that specific like outside receiver role who can also bring some speed to take the top off defense.
Okay, Randall, who's your 15th receiver?
Yeah, I reiterate with Owen. I do agree. This is where my first couple ones are in the fourth round. We get into top 100. But I agree this is not really my top 15 wide receivers, just fit for Buffalo. I'm also a little skeptical about the combine results. I think everybody was too athletic over the weekend.
Well, but, I mean that's something we can talk about as well. I just got done talking about it, and that's the thing. It's like right. I said this before. It's like chicken wings in Buffalo. Don't tell me who makes good ones. Give me the 2 or 3 that make bad ones, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got good numbers now at the combine.
Yeah, right. Okay, so my 15th is Zachariah Branch. Georgia, obviously, what you saw over the weekend was heavy explosion, and that is what matched on the tape. 66% of his routes are either hitches or screens, so that is a detriment. That's why I have him in the fourth round. But getting Zachariah Branch on Buffalo. He can run vertical routes and is a burner in that regard, but also that will give the option for Shakir to play more outside, and he would be the full-time inside guy. So you have Kincaid, who works in the slot, and then you have Shakir working outside. Between those two guys, who are going to be the smartest in the room, those two run the option routes. So now you have a guy that can work outside running option routes, have an inside guy running option routes, and be able to work out into a more versatile package when you know Zachariah Branch is a manufactured touch guy only.
Can I do my impersonation of Jim now?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. Randall. Zachariah Branch is a guy at the combine that really had good results and actually is one of the stock up guys at the combine where people feel that he met his 40 time expectation, but everything else, this could put him in the top 40 selections. Owen, do you feel that way? Or do you think he's a bottom of the draft guy like Randall had him in the 15th spot? Is that good or what?
Yeah.
I love the cadence.
Before you even know it was so good.
I would be impressed if Branch lasted to round 4.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. He was a stock up guy in the numbers. A lot of people wrote him up as a top 40 selection.
Yeah, I would not touch that, and I would only touch him. Again, 66% of his routes are hitches and screens in college. That's a 4th round guy for me.
Yeah, I have him bottom of the 3rd, so I'm around the same where you are, Randall. I felt like he's so athletic on tape, and I think you kind of buried the lead a little bit with the fact that he could also be your returner in both punt and kick return situations, where he did that as like an explosive. Back when he was at USC, he was like one of the most explosive kick returners in college football. So not only are you getting a guy who can be kind of a gimmick touch type receiver if you do want to have that role for your offense, but you're adding a guy to your special teams that will be able to make an impact there and be better than just being like a fifth receiver on the depth chart, which we've had previously that doesn't really help with teams. So he can help you there. And as well, I do think that he plays a little bit bigger than his size. Like he has some bite to him. He's got that kind of dog in his game. So I do think that he will go out there and compete. I just think he is limited a bit with his size and what routes he was asked to run at Georgia this year.
Yeah, and Owen's cat sounds like he's a
Yeah, Mowgli's a very big Zachariah Branch fan.
Yeah, there's some bias in that.
That's because Owen's cat is the same size as Zachariah Branch. I mean, 5'8", 177, not a very big guy. We don't need small guys in Buffalo. We don't need small guys.
Yep. So, Owen, your next receiver is another player from Oklahoma.
Yeah, another one. We're sticking with Oklahoma, Jerry.
Wow.
We're not going to get away from the small guys yet. We're going to stick with another guy who ran a 4.3 flat this year's combine. Again, take it with a grain of salt since everyone was running fast, apparently. But we're going to go with Deion Burks, the slot receiver from Oklahoma. He was a guy that I liked a lot coming into the season, and I have had no reason to come down off of him from what his play was like this past season. He is going to be more of your true slot, kind of more of a precise route runner than some of these other guys. Like compared to Zachariah Branch, he's much more crisp and ability to make guys miss and create separation over the middle and be an early separator for a quarterback. He worked well with John Mateer off script for Oklahoma this season. And like I said, he has the 4.3 speed already in his game. And he did show off. He was one of the guys I picked I thought would have the biggest vertical jump, and he ended up jumping 42.5 inches because on film, he has some insane body control and ability to get up and attack the ball in the air. So you don't particularly have to be super accurate despite the smaller frame of 5'10", 180. So he's a guy that if you want more of a true slot, have Shakir be more of that versatile move around the offense piece with his run after catch ability, like Randall was saying about earlier, playing a more or less maybe like a Z type on the outside who has some more chemistry with Josh. If you don't add a second outside receiver there, I do think he could be your addition in the slot while still adding some speed to the offense to kind of make defense respect you a tad bit more.
Do you think he can win on the outside?
I haven't seen enough of his release packages to believe that he can deal with some like hard press. I couldn't imagine like Pat Surtain rolling up on him and like pressing him. But for a guy that he's not the smallest, like he is still 5'10", 180. That is not like tiny, but I don't think that's where he's going to live in the NFL.
And if you don't think that Deion Burks can win on the outside, what makes you think that Khalil Shakir can win on the outside, who has – like since we've decided in the draft to really harp on the arm length this year, has historically short
Yeah.
arms for a wideout. I mean, that's not a guy that's going to get off of press coverage or press man in my estimation. But all of a sudden, we've decided to make Shakir an
Right.
outside receiver.
That's kind of Brandon Beane's fault, right? Is that
Yeah.
where we're all stemming this from? Is Brandon Bean talking
Yes.
about inside outside guys, and
Yes.
then him bringing up Khalil Shakir in
Right.
that? And that is debatable. I do agree with you, Jerry, on that, because we're definitely just feeding into that. And the question is that possible? And it's been a while, but he would have to work still in bunch sets.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're right.
tough.
You're exactly right. A bunch sets
Yeah.
outside, but again, this is the narrative that we're getting right now, and it's constructed narrative out of Buffalo.
yeah.
Everything that Bean says is constructed and has a reason for being said the way it is.
Yeah, and I think we're all a little bit on the same page, because realistically, well, you had your next one is who I had at 15. You had Deion Burks, who's small, and like my 14th is Brennan Thompson. So I think we're all kind of in agreement that small guys aren't technically
Yeah.
like 5'10" or under is not the ideal for Buffalo sort of thing. Because like my guy, I think at 14, and we had almost similar ideas at 14, because I put Brennan Thompson in there, and that is a small guy, 5'9", 170, who ran the 4.26 in the combine. That matches on tape. He decelerates very well. He's going to be in that slot to take the top off in the slot, as well as still be able to run short and intermediate routes. So, but his size puts him in the slot, and he could be used if we were to do I have Brennan Thompson late day 3, so where Owen had Zachariah Branch.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Thompson has that game-breaking speed. We thought he was going to come in and have threatened the combine record. I'm sure he's going to somehow get to a lower 4.2 run if he runs at his pro day.
Trip the second time.
Yeah, there you go. And he still finished with a great time. So
Yeah.
I think we are in the same spot, because my next player is also another kind of smaller guy. And then after we get past him, it's just kind of getting upsized. My next guy is a higher graded player than a lot of the guys above him, but because he's on the smaller side, he's grouped in that little bracket with Branch and with Burks, where I'm like, okay, if we're going to grab – these guys just have enough value from where you're drafting it. Like, these guys are coming around and you still haven't added a speed option to your offense yet. You can sacrifice some size to get these guys in to kind of take the top off the defense.
Yeah, so Owen, who is your next receiver? I think this is going to be Jeremy White's favorite wide receiver, and that's sarcasm.
I won that argument.
So my next receiver is another smaller guy, Antonio Williams from Clemson. We had to leave the state of Oklahoma. Sorry, Jerry, but he's 5'11" and a half, pushing 190. He's a guy that some people maybe thought he could play a little bit outside. You know, he is going closer to that 6 foot range for a wide receiver, where you can start seeing them project more out. And he does have some release to his game. He plays with some physicality in the line. But for me, I do think he's going to be a guy that lives primarily in the slot, like another guy who has speed, ability to win with some routes up the middle, and be kind of more of a guy that is open and available in those, if you give him space in that short to intermediate area. The problem with him for me previously was that just his hands weren't the best. He had some drops issues back in 2024. He improved a little bit in 2025, but I'm still kind of questioning it there a tad. Run after catch type guy. A lot of the stuff that you get from Shakir, that if you still are looking for a speed guy, he's not the best when it comes to like 4.41, but he does more and has an opportunity to be more comfortable on the outside than a player like Shakir or some of the other players we previously talked about.
Randall, do you think Antonio Williams can win on the outside?
I do. I think he can win on the outside traditionally, but not consistently traditionally. But what I do like, and why I had Antonio Williams, I think me and Owen had him in a similar spot, is that you could use him, which we use so much pre-snap motion, is you could change matchups by having him inside and moving outside and switching around to let that area to create different mismatches, and him still being a threat on the outside. And I think that's why I have him a little bit higher, because I think he has that ability. And the Z-type, which can take away from Shakir a little bit, as well as, he's used in the rushing a lot, and not in 2025, but in 2024. He was used in the rushing game, so he could get manufactured touches on sweeps, even though I know Buffalo never really wants to use sweeps again, which I very much understand. But if that time comes, we have somebody that has done it in college and can be good at it. So he's a big, versatile piece.
Yeah, and I want to shout out Alex Cullen, who you podcast with, Randall, because he was the one that called out Jeremy White on Twitter. And then I chimed in, like I saw the response because it was Alex, not because it was Jeremy. But Jeremy didn't agree with that assessment of Antonio Williams. So
yeah, I mean, I think that there's just with the combine and everything, there's just central focus to first round wide receivers. I'm not sure if that conversation talked about Antonio Williams in the first, or there was an assumption that Antonio Williams was in the first, because then once I sent the Casey Concepcion stuff, then it was kind of over. So I think it's just, as we've talked about, there needs to be conversations about 4 rounds, 5 rounds of wide receivers rather than 1 round of wide receivers.
So as I'm looking at both of your boards, now we're shifting gears here, because I think, like you pointed out, Randall, the first several players we talked about, I don't think Buffalo would want to touch until round 3, round 4. They might be closer to the slot, but Randall, I think your next guy could be the guy that wins outside, and I think that's going to be the same as you and Owen go through the rest. And Jerry, feel free to chime in here as we're moving through the rest of the receivers.
Yeah, we'll do.
Oh, Randall, what do you have next?
Yeah, my next guy is Bryce Lance, North Dakota State. This is the only time that I'm going to say that I'm scouting the helmet, is that he's a Christian Watson clone. He wins outside like Christian Watson. Christian Watson came from North Dakota State. They recruit similarly, so they found another Christian Watson in North Dakota State. Now he's coming to the draft. The combine might have put him in the 3rd round. I still have an early 4th on him, but his sideline control with his body control and ball locating is one of the best in the class, without a doubt. He knows how to keep 2 feet in bounds. He's electric and can high point the ball, great in contested catch situations. He has a limited route tree. He runs those ins, he runs posts, he runs goes, he runs some outs, but he will stretch the field for you, and he is red zone threat. Very ideal steal for me if we don't go wide receiver round 1 and 2.
I really like Bryce Lance a lot. Got to see him play, obviously, same conference as my son. It'll be interesting to see, we talk about the combine and how the combine validates game film, and we see guys that have not had as good of a combine as he had and get jumped up into this, stock rising situation. And yet Bryce Lance is kind of being, I'm not going to use the term. I can't stand the term slept on, but he's a guy that, all of a sudden, he's a 1AA guy. He's an FCS guy. Maybe Bryce Lance can play. And I think a lot of him, because he had the opportunity after his junior year to go make a lot of money elsewhere. And he decided to stay to try to win another national championship. Now, it did not work out for him. They lost in the 1st round, but he stayed. And I think he's a character guy too. I like him quite a bit. I really do.
I love it.
Shout out to Anthony Russo, another draft professor, because he's been talking about Lance since May.
Wide receiver 1 in May. Wide receiver 1 in May.
That was why. And Trevor Sikkema even called out Anthony Russo on a tweet about that in May. But Owen, who is the next receiver for you?
Yeah, similar to Bryce Lance, I have graded actually the exact same as this play next experiment to talk about. And Lance, I am a big fan of. I didn't know he was the brother of Trey Lance until doing my research. But the athleticism shows. They're both, the NFL pedigree through the both brothers. But to me, Bryce Lance does a little bit less game-wise than Chris Brazzell does, the wide receiver from Tennessee. But there are less question marks I have about Bryce Lance's, on the field character per se. Where with me, Chris Brazzell, he's another guy, 6'3", runs in the 4.3s, and it shows on tape against SEC defenses. He is a burner, has the size, and uses that as well. Great ball tracking, can snatch balls out there with his hands. He had a huge drop off in his drop percentage from last year to this season. And he, in that Tennessee offense, was utilized a lot when it came to the deeper balls, using that speed and that size, the high weight speed stuff. And he was really fluid when he was asked to do some more intercuts, having not the quickest feet and not the best east to west type of player, especially with like the ball in his hands. He still was able to make some smoother cuts and get guys biting on him. So he had some of the single best reps of any of the receivers in this class. However, and I made a tweet about this, that like his highlight reel is the best, but like the offense he runs in Tennessee was very RPO reliant. And there were every play, if he wasn't like going to have an opportunity to get the ball, he was walking or jogging every single time. It blew my mind how many plays he could have, if he just gave more effort as a blocker or gave just any effort to make a cornerback respect that he was going to be going for a route at all, that guy makes the play on the receiver who does get the ball, the running back who's trying to hit the outside gap. So a lot of times I saw him just kind of slacking it off, and I don't know if it was because of Tennessee's offense that allowed him to do that, or if this is something that's going to be consistent, that if he's not going to be more of a featured option in an offense, that you're going to see him kind of get that wide receiver diva mentality. He, again, has phenomenal highs, but I think the lows for me are really low, which is why I'm a bit lower on him. But I do think that he's in that same case of you need a guy who can take the top off the defense, beat guys in 1-1 coverage because he's faster, bigger than you. I do think he can fit that bill. So if the Bills are willing to take that risk on that kind of guy, I think he would pay dividends for him. But we'll see how high he actually goes with how the league is feeling about him.
So
Randall,
could you?
Randall, go ahead. You go
Well, I
ahead
was going to
first.
say, could you compare AD Mitchell to Chris Brazel? Like, is it the
No.
similar effort
Oh,
concern?
No, because Adonai Mitchell's report was about his health condition and how he wasn't being vigilant on taking the medication for his diabetes and stuff like that. So I think that's two different. And I did watch a couple games. Obviously, this was a long time ago in Tulane, and I didn't see those effort concerns in Tulane, to be honest with you. I have Brazel as my wide receiver 4 for Buffalo. I think he is a perfect fit at 6'4", 200 pounds, running a 4.3, 740 to stretch that field. And the way he can dip his hips in the intermediate is very, very impressive. So for a kid that size that can move that well, I think is a rare breed. And now he's even got the outlier out of the way of 6'5" wide receivers, because 6'5" wide receivers is more of an outlier. You start looking at tight end. He came into the combine at 6'4" flat, or a little over 6'4". So the way he moves for his size is super impressive. I would take him in the early second as a trade back for Buffalo.
Jerry.
You talk about Brazel. Let me rephrase that. You talk about Lance as having a limited route tree. Yet when I look at Brazel and I look at Brennan Thompson, who's basically running the Baylor offense, those are 2 route guys. Those are incredibly limited route tree guys. And what you described to Lance to me is 6 different routes that I don't think he has a limited route tree compared to these other guys. And that's what infuriates me. I shouldn't say infuriates me, but gives me huge question marks about these guys in the NFL is they're 2 route guys. They're go balls or whatever. I mean, they're that's what they run in these offenses. And it's, to me, it's very, very limited.
Yeah, especially with these guys. And I think they operate a lot in the north to south plane. And I think Lance does operate in this majority wise. Lance did run more routes. I don't think he looked as comfortable running these other routes as he did the stuff where it's you are going up the field, whether it's going to be a post or a go route. And then when they start to give you that cushion and give you that space, and then we're going to start working in the curls, the slants, some of this shorter stuff, not when you have a guy pressing you in your face. They're going to give you respect because you have that speed and that downfield ability. Then we can start throwing in different routes that maybe you aren't going to be able to beat one-on-one coverage with if it's in tight. You have to build that ability first, though. So I do think these guys kind of fit into that same mold where they're going to win going up the field vertically. And then when they get that space given to them, that's when they're going to start being able to run more of the route.
And I think Brazel can do that well, and he shows it on tape when he gets into that intermediate, and you see that skinny post. But when there's some separation, you can see he dips his hips and decelerates well for his size. So I think he already has that in his bag, and I don't think Tennessee makes him do it often. But it's on tape, and it looks good.
Yeah, it's a lot of reading through the lines where I agree, Jerry. I have historically hated Tennessee wide receivers. Like I was never on with the Jalen Hyatts. Or last year was Thompson. I can't remember his first name. I was never
Dante Thornton.
Yeah, or Thornton. Sorry,
yeah.
I've never been on just because of that specific reason. But Brazel is a different player than those two, where I feel that he has flashes of it when he is running those routes of being able to, like Randall saying, sink his hips, chop his feet more, have some more distinct cuts when he's asked to change direction, come back down the stem, as opposed to some of the other guys who were relying solely on the space given to them by corners because they have that vertical ability.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. And Randall, your grade on Brazel would be you could take him in round 1 for Buffalo.
I would be surprised if he went round 1. I wouldn't be ecstatic. I only have 4 wide receivers in the first round. I don't have any more past that. I would deal with it if we took him at 26. I would love a trade back to pick up a 4th or something. That's where I have him as his value, is an early second.
Got it. And then Randall, who is your next receiver?
All right, my guy is Jeremy Bernard. I have him at next at that 11 spot. I know he's not the most explosive. It's kind of the Surratt and Bernard are like the non-explosive guys, but their route tree is so good, and how they can win in their route running and stem work is very, very solid. So if you're getting somebody like Jeremy Bernard, you're getting somebody that would kind of take a Curtis Samuel Z-roll, which can win in the short, intermediate, and sometimes deep. But he can be an easy button for Josh Allen, one where it's 2nd and 7 or 3rd and 7, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. The guy that knows where to get to the sticks, create separation at the stem, pick up the first down, and then move about your day. Something that I believe that we have been missing from Diggs to Beasley and things along those lines, where you just need trust in one guy to pick up that first down and keep the offense going.
So, with Jeremy Bernard, he had I'm going to call it average 40. But his 10-yard split was incredible. So how do you see Bernard fitting in Buffalo?
Yeah, I think he had the disservice of going against this batch of freaks that ran this week, where a 4.48 looks awful, right. But like it's genuinely like that's fine. That's playable in the NFL. I wouldn't say he hangs his hat on being an absolute deep threat. He's a player that you would pair with another guy that has some more speed or downfield ability to his game. Bernard is a guy that I'm super high on, and I think that I have him a bit higher on my list just because I do think that I'm valuing him being that route running winner type guy and having that explosiveness to his game, like you were saying, Jim, where he can get in and out of breaks really quick with some suddenness and create that separation on his own without having to get in schemed up. Whereas some of these other guys who maybe are just fast straight line dudes are going to need these crossers or these straight line routes to be able to run away from defenders, whereas Bernard in tighter confined spaces while still operating on the outside, if he gets faced with tight coverage, can set guys up and get some quicker separation to allow an opening for Josh Allen to thread the ball in there and have a guy he can trust to be open in these kind of go get a bucket situations.
Do you guys think that it's important that the receiver, if they pick a receiver at a high point in this draft, do you think it's a must that they are good against man coverage?
Oh yeah.
If they're going to invest highly, yes, and I think that's what Bernard would do.
100%. Bernard could do it.
Yep. And Owen, you've been round one on Bernard since you first saw him in the summer.
Yeah, right? I've come a little bit down from that. I'm more comfortable in the mid round 2 range, but just because I do think that lack of downfield speed did start to show up a bit more this season. But I do think he is a guy that will go out there and he will be starting wide receiver for an NFL team. And he'll be a guy that prevents you from having that Cleveland Browns game plan ever being played against you again.
Right.
Okay.
Good point.
Which was ridiculous.
Oh my God. That was the only game I had to listen to it because I was driving. I was driving to New York, and it was brutal to listen to.
I was in person there, and it was still brutal live.
Yeah.
So, Owen, who is your next wide receiver?
Yeah, so 10th on my board, and this is more of a projection because he's not going to play early on in the season, is going to be Chris Bell from Louisville. We had a ton of rumors about the A.J. Brown, the DJ Moores of the world being traded to Buffalo this offseason because Joe Brady has worked with those styles of receivers in the past. And Chris Bell is the next in that kind of ilk where they are these thick, big guys. He measured in 6'2", 220 while at Louisville. I didn't see if he got measured at the combine. If anyone knows that information off the top, but he is a guy who looks thick, really. And this is a weird thing that all of us when we talk about draft comment a lot. He's really dense in the ass area. Like he's got a big ass. He's got some big legs.
Hey, that's important these days, especially in baseball.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
So he and it shows up. It shows up when he's breaking tackles, running for the catches, where he's going to live a lot of. He operated because of that in the slot quite a bit for Louisville, where he's a bit more of a raw route runner, and they just wanted to get him on hitches, crossers, ability to get the ball in his hands, and let him get upfield and be explosive. Despite being 220, he was able to split safeties. Like the game against Miami was insane. The amount of things he could do against a high-level defense ends up playing in the national championship game. So he has that level of talent. Now, unfortunately, he did tear his ACL, so he's going to be out for the first half of the NFL season, I'd assume. Or at least getting back up to speed by that point. So this is more of a longer term investment. I don't know if that waivers, like Jerry, especially, would you take a guy who has that injury concern, he's not going to be an impact for you in the earlier part of the season, but you might have him back for that push towards the end into that playoff run to add that extra dynamic to your offense.
If I had a wide receiver room that was set, I would. Not now, not with this group. I don't have time to wait for anybody. We got to cull people, let alone wait. So I think, there's definitely a place and time to do that. But I think that's like, I don't know, Green Bay, who's set with receivers, or you can afford to keep a guy around like that because you got numbers. I don't think we can do that in Buffalo.
Well, Jerry, different question. If we draft a wide receiver in round 1 and then take a player like Chris Bell in round 2 on a double dip,
no, we got too many needs.
Okay,
we got too many needs. Where are we going to take our starting left guard, Jim?
Well,
if we're taking Chris Bell,
offensive line.
If we're talking Chris Bell, what are we going to take our linemen?
I agree overall.
No, I think, and real quick, Rand, I'm sorry not to cut you off. No. I thought what Dallas did last year was really good. They got what is it, Revel, I guess his name, from East Carolina. I thought that was appropriate. They had the means to do it and sit around, and now what did they just do? They got rid of Diggs. They got somebody that can step in and play there. I think that's pretty, they had a little bit to play with. I don't think we do, though, roster-wise. We're so tight with cash and numbers. We got to get guys in here that can play now.
I'm overall with you on it, and I do agree. He came in at 222, by the way, almost 31 3/4 arm, 10-inch hands, so he's got the size. I will say the one thing why I do also, and our 10, 9, and 8 are the same people, which is cool. And I have Chris Bell at 10 as well. The one thing that I do like about Chris Bell is watching his 2024 tape to his 2025 tape. 2024 tape for 6'2", 220 pounds, he played pretty soft. And he really played with a lot of physicality in 2025. So the growth in there leads me to believe that he is closer to A.J. Brown than Xavier Legette. So the risk there is worth chasing if we were to now heavily invest, like if we were to get Brandon Cooks and Mike Evans, and Chris Bell is on our IR, so we have 5 wide receivers. Chris Bell waiting in there to then maybe take away from, let's say, Keon Coleman doesn't have a good rest of the year, and then he gets off goes bit to the practice squad. Then Chris Bell comes in. That's the only way I'd work it, because I do agree with you, Jared. We need 5 full bodies ready to rock and roll, and he'd have to be the 6th.
Yeah, I didn't think about that with the whole IR situation. Owen, when did he get hurt last year? Early?
They revealed it in January, right?
It
was
I
mid.
thought they were
October-ish.
Yeah. But he's got a surgery in April or in January, right?
Right.
Because
I heard a report coming out of the combine that Chris Bell is going to be ready for training camp. That's what he told somebody. Now
he tore it on November 22nd.
Okay.
Or is that real? Like Jerry, like how long for a
November 27th? You're in a skill position. You're looking at 9 months.
Yeah, Chris Bell had surgery December 11th.
Yeah, you're looking at 9 months. So January, February, March, April, May. I mean, you're pushing it.
September. Yep.
Yeah, you're pushing it.
So the reason I asked that question, Jerry, was because of how the offense, the worry for me isn't as much for that early season and needing him to be like just a living, breathing body that can play wide receiver.
Right.
Just the way the offense is structured with the incorporating tight ends, being more run heavy. I do think that there is what is the worst case scenario if Chris Bell isn't ready for the beginning of the season? Do you think that he's the difference between winning and losing some games, or is it that you're just worried that the chemistry won't be there by the end of the season?
I'm just worried that we need a lot of help. I see what you're saying. I think it's good. I mean, if you bring him in, I don't even know if I'd try to rush him back by the end of the year. I'd sit him on the IR the whole season and get him ready for the next year and avoid him getting hurt again trying to rush back. I mean, this is a young player. You don't want that to happen to, and then you're constantly chasing your tail with his health. If you're going to make this move, in my estimation, stick his butt on the IR and forget about him until next year and say, hey, we've got a guy that would have been maybe a late 1, a 2, or whatever that we stockpiled over here. That's what I would do with him personally. Yeah. My whole thing is just as tight as we are cap-wise, as tight as we are with numbers and needing help, it's just hard for me to pick a guy that's not going to be productive until either A, the end of the season, or B, not at all. That's just kind of how I mean, that's how I look at it.
He's also getting first round chatter, and I think that's a little ridiculous in my opinion. But
I can
the
see
first round
Seattle
chatter is
taking
still
him.
there.
But don't get me wrong. I'm with you, though. And if you have the means to do it, I mean, somebody out there is going to do it. If it's not us, somebody's going to do exactly what you said. They're going to bring him in and go forget about him. Go work with the strength staff and work with the trainers. Somebody's going to do it if it's not us.
Yeah,
he's the most dependent on what happens in free agency for me because like he's number 10 on my board right now. Depending on what you do in free agency, he has the most to move on this board for me, based off what they do there.
I think we're going to do both. Actually, I don't think Bean can afford to piss the fan base off another year. I mean, honestly,
yeah. No, you're right. You're 100% right.
He's tried to win the press conference, and now he wants to win public opinion with the draft. I would not doubt if we get one on March 11th, and I would not doubt if we get one the first round at the draft.
Bingo.
I really believe that. He doesn't – it's just like I say all the time, the next guy gets all the new things and nice things, and Brady's going to get all the nice things.
Okay,
except Yarmo, he's just taking the Sabres with Kevin Adams' team.
Randall, who's next on your list?
Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst, Georgia State. Big fan of Ted Hurst, Georgia State, 6'3", like a shade under 6'4". I think he came in at 206, which was surprising at that 195 build. Had a low 4.4 40, which was great. Shows it at the Senior Bowl. Confirms what we saw at the Senior Bowl against tough competition, which is awesome. I think the only thing he really needs to work on is some of his press releases, but I think he can still get it done. Big fan of Ted Hurst. I think he is almost a steal around pick 60 to 75 because people are scouting the helmet a little bit. But I think if he came from Tennessee, Alabama, or anything along those lines, he would get early second chatter. But with his speed matched with his size profile on the outside, I think that's exactly what Buffalo needs. He can outrun somebody on go routes, but he can still dip the hips in the intermediate. He's fluid in his running. He's got it all. I think it's kind of like having almost a 6'4" Shaheed.
Yeah, he was a guy that my biggest concern for him watching the tape at Georgia State was that he was not physical enough, and that when he was going over the middle, that whenever it was kind of in traffic, he wasn't coming down with the ball, despite being this kind of tall, limber guy who can go up and win contested catches one-on-one. But when it came to the crowd, it was kind of more of an issue. The fact that he showed up at the Senior Bowl 10 pounds heavier, which is what I wanted him to add, and he still looked just as good there, and then ran as good as he did at that same weight in the combine, I think he's answered a lot of what I was already questioning about his tape. So he may be a guy that I think overperforms early on compared to what he looked at like at Georgia State. So if he can parlay that, I think he's already answered a lot of the questions that I had earlier on for what I thought he was going to be in the NFL.
I think the biggest thing with Hurst, and probably the question mark is, and you guys both hit upon it, all of his struggles seem to be related with physicality, right? Whether it's actually dominating with his body size at the level of football he plays, whether it's run blocking, whether it's all those things, catching the ball in contested spots, all those things are related to physicality, right? So can that physicality, can he learn it? Can it translate? Can he find that somewhere in the NFL? Because as well as I do, the first thing somebody's going to do is come up and put their hand on the middle of his chest and try to choke him out at the line of scrimmage. And, young receivers can get humbled very quickly. They can lose confidence very quickly. That's the only red flag to me that I worry about is he is physically a freak show. He's got a lot of attributes that you love, but where's the physicality in his play? And if it's in there, can he bring it out?
Yeah, he uses his hands in press release, so I do like that. So he knows on that punch that he can kind of get it away. He definitely needs to work really hard on his technique at the line of scrimmage, and the NFL can do that for him. But those are the concerns. And that's why I think pick 60, or if you trade back a little bit, is more palatable to take him and then develop him.
Right.
Okay. Owen, who do you have next?
So next up, and again, with how we talked about it earlier on, where we were looking at like the cluster of like slot type dudes who maybe were higher graded but didn't fit the mold we were really looking for. Then we got to the lower graded, but guys who fit into our typage we want. We were more route runners or speed guys, some of our X receiver types with the Brazzles and the Ted Hursts and the Chris Bells. We're now moving into a guy that is not the best fit for the Bills, I would say, but it was so highly graded compared to other guys that I needed to put him here, and I couldn't let him fall a little further than like a Ted Hurst or something like that. And that's going to be Denzel Boston from Washington for me, who I will take offense if you ever compare him to Keon Coleman again, Jerry. I didn't peep that the last time. I went back and re-listened to our show, and you called him the next Keon Coleman. And that might be an issue because they're very different players.
That's Malachi
Are
Fields. That is Malachi Fields.
It is.
Are they very different players?
Yes, they are, Jerry. I will defend that with my dying breath that they are the same. They are both ice cream, but they are different flavors. You're right. The way that Boston wins, just keeping the Keon comparison here, just using him as a backdrop to kind of prop up Boston. They are both guys that win in contested catch situations. That is true. And I do think that Boston, in the way he wins, is more consistent to win at the NFL level than what Keon does, where Keon, even at Florida State, you could look at it and see he was just trying to out-muscle, out-athlete, bring that basketball background to the football field and win through ways that are less sustainable. Whereas Boston uses technique, shielding, ability to understand and read and manipulate where his quarterback is, what the kind of his positioning is on the DB to make that play while still being 6'4" and long and ability to jump. In addition to that, he also is a lot more fluid with his route running. That was the big thing with Keon coming out was that, he was used as maybe a punt returner sometimes. They would get the ball in his hands, let him be physical and be an athlete out there because he wasn't really this refined receiver. You would ask him to be a jump ball guy or ask him to go win with the ball in his hands. Boston did a lot of his damage with the ball in the quarterback's hands still, winning with routes, trying to get to open space, and had a bit more of speed than even Keon did, who was propped up as like this great athlete. So for me, Boston does the stuff that you were hoping Keon could grow into doing already, which is why I have him graded higher now than I did when Keon when he was coming out, and why I think, while I don't agree with adding him there because you already have Keon on your roster and hoping Keon can become Denzel Boston, you don't want to have two of those guys on the roster, but he is just a better player overall.
Here's my concern, which I have him so with that profile, I agree with everything you said, Owen, 100%, but I would not take that at pick 40 because the manipulation and the technique in his contested catch situations is still going to take a hit going into the NFL with more grown men, kind of eyeing them and being able to use their technique. So my issue is, and it's really a lot of contested catch situations for me from going to college and NFL because I don't think it automatically transfers over. I do think Denzel Boston, you are right, his contested catch situation will translate over better. But when you're looking at the rest of it, he can decelerate well. His outs are good. His crossers are good, and he's good with the ball in his hands. So I think he's a great pick at 60. I just don't – I wouldn't take a top 40 pick on him immediately because I think he still would need to gain some strength and get comfortable in a role in the NFL.
Okay. So Jerry, any thoughts on Denzel Boston?
Yeah, we have Denzel Boston on the roster already.
You mean Tyrell Shavers, right?
It's that simple.
Okay.
All I'm telling you is this: if I hear you're a big-bodied guy with a large catch radius, move on.
Yeah,
got it. So Randall,
no, I think he's a good receiver, but I think he's redundant in what we've got going on. And I agree. I mean, I think he's a better receiver right now than Keon was, but they're same type of stuff, same skill sets, same body. I do think, I sometimes wonder about the release on press with Boston, but yes, I do agree, Owen. He is a better player right now than Keon, but they are somewhat similar.
Yeah, and the reason he's not my 8th graded receiver, but the reason he's at 8th is because do you want a second power slot for this kind of Saint-ish offense? No, I don't really want that skill set added. He was just graded so highly, I didn't feel comfortable leaving him off the list entirely or putting him below guys who I have.
Well, let me tell you
lower.
this. Let me tell you this. Lance Zierlein, you know who his NFL comparison for Boston is?
Oh boy,
is it Keon Coleman?
No. Oh, this one will blow your mind. Puka Nacua.
Oh my God.
Yes. Puka Nacua.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Randall every year will say 2 or 3 receivers are Puka Nacua-esque.
He says 2-year starter with elite ball skills, that should supersede athletic/speed limitations. A Puka Nacua comparison might feel strong, but like Nacua, Boston enters the draft with speed, separation concerns, and outstanding competitive toughness.
Do you know why
Nacua-
Puka Nacua is Puka Nacua? It's because no physicality affects him at any point
Right.
on the field at
Right.
all. And then he matches it with his hands and speed, and
Yes.
that's why Puka Nacua is Puka Nacua,
Yes.
and there will not be another Puka
Yes.
Nacua for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, even like in college, that's one of my biggest draft wins ever. Was I had Nacua like wide receiver 5 that year. When
Oh,
he was
yeah.
at BYU, they stuck him at like wildcat quarterback. They used him like as a downfield threat in the screen. They were like, "Oh, you can read a defense and go through people's face masks and make wins with the ball in your hands because you're so physical. We don't care if you're undercooked as a route runner."
But see, this proves to me anyway. This is my more evidence that this is reporters and people that do things like this pushing agendas for agents
Mhm.
and players and coaches. Because why Daniel Jeremiah would possibly have Malachi Fields as the 26th pick overall for the Buffalo Bills, there is no other explanation. There's no other explanation that his agent is probably Malachi Fields' agent, and he's doing him a solid. Because, I mean,
couldn't agree more.
I just can't see it.
Yeah, and this is a really good point because Randall and Owen are volleying between their top 15s. Malachi Fields is not on either one of their top 15s, and we covered several day 3 wide receivers that Randall and Owen like for Buffalo, and Malachi Fields' name was not on the list. He might be higher graded on your boards, but like you said, not a good fit for Buffalo.
If he was on this list, I would have flown to Arkansas and fought Randall live on screen.
Yeah,
Can we do that?
Jerry just
Can
has
we
to drive.
do that?
Jerry just has to drive for
Jim
starters.
and I'll get to the same location and put on tuxedos, and we'll do like our best. We'll do like our best Larry
Let's
Merchant,
get ready to rumble.
our best Larry Merchant and Jim Lampley from HBO impersonations.
There we
Please.
go.
I was at the combine, and as soon as he ran that 4.62, I was like, I got immediately on Twitter. I was like, all right, enough of the first round, enough of all of drafting Buffalo Bills. Not first round, not second round, not third round, not fourth round.
Can we be
Don't
done
draft
with it?
Yeah.
But you know something? He can go to the Patriots. There is a Patriots draft professor that loves Malachi Fields.
Please
Yeah,
do.
go for it.
Send him to
Go
New
for it.
England.
Please do. I
Randall,
think that's
who's
where he
next
needs
on
to
your
be.
list?
My next guy, that was 8, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'd
So my
boss
next
8.
guy. Okay. My next guy is Elijah Surratt. I am a big fan of Elijah Surratt. I have him right after Brazel in my early second rounders. Awesome outside X that can work outside and inside. One of the best technical route runners in the class. The way he runs routes, the way he can handle the physicality going through into the stem and then separating at the stem is incredibly impressive. His back shoulder timing with Mendoza was absolutely phenomenal, which is something that Buffalo needs, and Keon Coleman was unable to get that timing down with Josh Allen, and you could tell that we were pushing for that. And then also his red zone. I mean, what he can do at the stem in the red zone in one-on-one abilities with a whip route, with clean press releases and quick outs and good hands right at the goal line situation is something that also Buffalo desperately needs. So we don't need Josh Allen to run in 15 touchdowns all the time because our red zone is not that efficient other than being able to threaten the run. So Elijah Surratt is somebody who can win one-on-one. If it's a one-on-one battle, you put the trust in him to get it done.
Yeah.
Oh, and how do you think Elijah Surratt separates?
So he separates a lot more. He uses his physicality to get at the stem to create some separation there. He is more burst than he is speed. He's not going to threaten you down the field. I do think that between his acceleration, his technique on press, and then ability to change direction for a guy the size that he is what creates a separation. But even when he doesn't create separation, especially on the outside there, and I think Randall, you buried deleted my favorite thing about Surratt is why I was like at one point pounding the table for him at 26, where I'm a little cooled off on it now. If you trade back and get him, early second, that's more where I'd feel comfortable with him. is he is like supernaturally gifted at the back shoulders. Like that's what him and Mendoza were the elite at. And why I think like if the Raiders are going to take Mendoza at 1, you might as well go with and get that kind of combination for the NFL at 33.
Right.
Where we haven't really seen that in the Bills offense since the time that Diggs was here, where I always remember the Rams game where we were, I think it was week 1, where we came in, they're defending Super Bowl champions. It's 2nd and 7. The game was still kind of in reach at that point. It's end of the half situation. You need to get this first down because you don't want to give the Rams the ball back. And they're running press man across the board, and you just know that Josh is like, okay, cool, I got Diggs on the back shoulder for a 7-yard gain. We can just keep it moving. That situation where they know you're throwing it, you know you're throwing it, but you need a guy to win against man coverage 1-on-1. That is that talent, that is that trait that even when I'm covered, I'm not covered. Like I'm open. So for a guy that can bring that to the offense that we haven't had since then, he is limited with athleticism. There's not going to be a lot of down the field play with him if you're not looking for just like the jump ball stuff, the way they used Keon last year, which I don't have any appetite for that anymore. But if you're looking for a guy who's going to win in against one-on-one coverage in that short to intermediate and be a bigger body guy when you get to the red zone and have that open option for Allen every single time he wants it, that's where you're going to go with Surratt.
That's where I have an issue, right? I mean, we need another intermediate receiver in this offense. I mean, you look at his numbers, and I'm not believe me, I don't bow down to PFF. I don't think it's the gospel, but they do some things that are good for statistics. And when you look at average depth of target, he was 382nd amongst receivers. And when you look at deep yards, he was 281st amongst receivers. That's showing me what Owen just said. He's intermediate to short route guy. Don't we have a roster full of intermediate to short route guys?
But do you have that guy on the outside though, Jerry? Because like we have that with the
it's true.
The tight ends and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. True. Now he
would need to get like Shaheed. Like it would need to be like we got Shaheed in free agency for that vertical. If we abandoned the 3rd level speed and just had Surratt and then even got somebody else like Antonio Williams, that would not work. I would not be happy with the combo of those two. You'd have to get somebody that is an outside speed demon.
Because me anyway, and it doesn't have to be. I think you can get separation and deep without just being a burner. So I think, but that does help. I think the 2 receivers we bring in have to be those types of guys, though, because when I look at us, I think intermediately we're good. One of them's Palmer if he's healthy. I think Palmer's that guy, a route runner, smooth guy in the intermediate, especially with as much mesh as Brady likes to run. The second guy who's really good in intermediate routes for us, and it's probably the best one we got, and also it's a health issue, is Kincaid. I think Kincaid is that guy. And then you go from there. But, I guess and really let me ask you this, guys, and I know we're getting off track a little bit, but does Keon become your big slot, and that's what he plays? I mean –
I think you have to entertain it.
When you start looking at who we're going to bring in, like where does Keon Coleman fit?
Yeah, I think you look at the tree and the guys we're bringing in as the offensive coordinator with Pete Carmichael and some of the Broncos staff we're bringing in, the former Saints guys. That offense works a lot with a guy who is a 6'2+ power slot type, a speed guy on the outside, and then the traditional X. So Keon couldn't be the traditional X. He can be that guy, the Deshaun Vele's of the world, who Denver had previously, that you're asking them to be and win physically against smaller nickel corners. That's where he's going to try to win. I think the idea of Keon being the outside X receiver is probably a dead idea at this point in the Bills offense.
Yep.
Like it.
Okay. And Owen, who is your next receiver?
So this is going to be the ultimate sniper snipes for me. Because my number 6 receiver is Randall's number 2.
Oh.
And Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. He measured it actually a lot better than I thought he would. Like being at 6 foot, I didn't think he was going to crack that. I thought he was going to be in that 5'11", the 5'10" range. I was impressed by that. There are stuff that I really do love about KC's game. I do have him graded in the same range. I think this is a good pairing of grade with how I have him ranked on my board, just neutrally, not also factoring in the positional value. He's a guy that I do think can win on the outside. If he's going to go out there, he has that kind of physical mentality, ability to play above what I previously thought wasn't his weight class. and go in and work on guys. I think when he was at NC State, there was a play I remember loving where they're in the red zone and he's asked to run a comebacker towards the pylon, sell it upfield, get into the corner, and then come back to the pylon, catch that ball on the sideline. And he punches that corner right in his chest and gets some separation with condensed field. And a guy who was on the smaller side, on the leaner side, doesn't often bring that to the game for them. So I do think he's a guy that has some of the athletic upside, has the ability to play on the outside if you do need him to. For me, what kind of hangs me up with him more than anything is just going to be the hands and the drops. Like, he wasn't utilized as much as he could have been because Texas A&M's quarterback stunk. But the times he did get targeted, he had to capitalize on all of them. And there were still not as much as 2024, but not much better either this year was his ability to weaponize his hands and be more of a natural hands catcher. So that's where I'm still concerned. Like, yeah, we can get all the talent in the world, but if he can't convert these plays, especially in these more difficult situations, is he going to really be a guy who can impact the offense?
Okay, so Owen, I have a question. So Randall did a really good write-up on Twitter. I tagged you in it, and your response was, I agree with everything Randall said. It's just in what we value. Can you quantify that response? And then we'll pivot this one to Randall.
Yeah. So the what Randall did, and it was a great write-up, was the comparison between Casey Concepcion, who's his number 2 receiver, and my number 2 receiver, and Omar Cooper Jr. And two players kind of in a similar bucket where they're 6 foot or right around there, had some more slot narratives around them. Cooper Jr. more so than Concepcion, I would believe, especially in college. And what Randall said about both players was entirely accurate. And then it comes to what do you value upside-wise and floor-wise. And for me, Concepcion is winning when it comes to having the route tree already established on tape. You look at him, you see that he can run these, and he was asked to run the full route tree at Texas A&M. I do think that he didn't win above the rim as much, and didn't that same going back to the natural hands catching thing is where really it's stuck in my craw where I want a guy who's I don't have to question whether or not he's going to be a guy that can go out there and make the plays when given the opportunity. Whereas with a guy like Cooper Jr., and we'll get more into it when he gets brought up later in this list, I'm sure he's going to be coming up soon for you because we have him kind of flipped, that he's a player that while he wasn't asked to do as much, when he was asked to do it, he did it at a good level and also showed some higher level ability when it came to natural hands catcher and playing in more impressive physically wise in more of those situations.
Okay, Randall.
Yeah, I kind of love this because I don't disagree with anything Owen said. It's pretty much nailed. I think we kind of nailed their profiles, but I do what I value more is that Casey Concepcion was about 70% out wide versus 15% for Omar Cooper Jr. So I have more trust in Casey to be able to go inside and outside. I think Omar Cooper needs to play more inside in the NFL. I think Casey Concepcion's press releases are one of the best in the class. He can burn everybody, and with fire feet, he uses his hands and swipes constantly in the first 5 to not disrupt his route. I think his stem work is third best to Tate and Tyson, and his double moves are lethal, and he's got the third level. And then out of those 4, Tate, Tyson, Lemon, Cooper, and KC, he's got the best third level of speed that separates. So he has insane double moves at the stem work, and then he keeps that separation when he burns. And all he needs to do at the stem is he does like a quick head down, and it looks like he's going to decelerate, and he just takes off. Or he has a quick skinny post, or he uses his move for the outside, and he burns them. And he would have had 600 to 650 more yards if his quarterback was not Marcel Reed, and probably 4 more touchdowns. I always go back to the Notre Dame.
Hey, if Randall understands quarterbacks that can't throw, it's a guy that follows Arkansas. So
straight up, exactly. I do go back to the Notre Dame game because he went 4 for 84. It could have been 7 for 175 and 2 or 3 touchdowns if Marcel Reed did not overthrow 2 balls and did not throw another ball where he was wide open on it. And that was going against Notre Dame corners, burning them on the outside.
And you'll be hearing about those Notre Dame cornerbacks in 2027. They will be one of them is projecting to probably be a top 10 or top 15 pick. So,
I really like Concepcion if he's got somebody with him. If we go ahead and get a free agent,
Yeah.
We got a good
All
free
day.
agent to pair with Concepcion. I like that idea. I like that young guy learning from that older guy. I like that. I want some juice in this position.
He's got
I want
juice.
I want juice on the team. Like there's a lot of just stagnant, like flat. Like I'm hoping, that Brady brings some personality out of this crew and allows them to, let's get up and celebrate. Let's get after it. I know we do some of that, but I want some more energy out of this wide, especially this wide receiver position. I like Concepcion. Like I said, if you compare him with a vet, I'd be a little bit. I'm like Owen. I have a little bit of hesitation if he's just by himself. Maybe he can learn from Shakir or whatever. That's fine. But you can bring in another outside guy that's a free agent and pair with him. I think that's a really good deal.
Him and Mike Evans would be elite. Would be
elite.
I love that. I love that idea.
Mike Evans can humble Keon Coleman because Keon Coleman wants to be Mike Evans. Let's be real. Like
Right.
that's his ideal
Right.
position. Like that's who he wants to be. Mike Evans could be like, you either have it or you don't. Watch me do it. If you don't do it like this, then you're not going to be me.
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing for Mike Evans too is you make 20-some million last year. You're looking now at maybe around 13. Is it really going to be 13? And somebody said to me the other day, they're like, "Hey, he gets to play with Josh Allen, man. Why wouldn't he want to come to Buffalo and play with Josh Allen?" I go, "Because he already plays with my quarterback 1B, which is Baker Mayfield. He's just as cool as Josh Allen." So, it's not like it's this, it's not like it's this thing there. But yeah, I do like that. That's a great call. I like that. Evans and Concepcion.
Okay, Randall, your next receiver.
All right, so mine's a snipe on the wide receiver. I like how we got to at least talk about the flips. Is Omar Cooper Jr.
This worked out really well.
It really did. It really did. I'm a big fan of Omar Cooper Jr., so this is no knock on Omar Cooper Jr. I know my Twitter is flooded with Casey Concepcion, and I apologize about that. But I love Omar. I love Omar Cooper, like just right in that bucket as well. I think he's a fantastic slot receiver. I think he's fit for the NFL with his play strength, his explosion at the line of scrimmage, his stem work. I think he has his ins and outs are the best in the class, probably second to Jordan Tyson for me. He is disconnected at the hip when he's running his ins and outs and his posts. His body looks like he's running a go, and he's either going in or out or running that post. I think he's super impressive. I think one of his top qualities is his high IQ in zone. He's probably the best intermediate zone getter. He knows when to sit. And he's very methodical in where to sit in zone because he's so good at yards after the catch. You can tell when the ball gets in his hands, that's what he wants to do, and he does not want to go down. You could just Google Omar Cooper Jr. highlights, and if it's 3 minutes long, a minute and a half of it is him catching the ball and then breaking 3 tackles. Super impressive receiver, especially for his size, not being over 205 and things along those lines. So he is a NFL-ready slot, and I'm a big fan of him. And would love him. I would be okay with him at 26, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. And I want to say, so when we covered Omar Cooper Jr., Randall was podcasting with Andy. Jeremy White quote tweeted Andy today with Omar Cooper Jr. So I want to be able to give Andy a plug and Jeremy White a plug. But Owen, why are you so high on Omar Cooper Jr.?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the opportunity he had at Indiana, where you had Surratt, who is your big body traditional X. We talked about him previously already in this episode, who you're not going to move him off the spot to give Cooper Jr. those snaps. And to be honest with you, now these aren't the same level of player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not comparing these two players, but just for reference, when talking about, and I kind of see this, I have this opinion about this past Indiana college football playoff winning team, is that they're kind of like the Walmart great value version of that 2019 LSU squad, where you had the cerebral quarterback there, the kind of more traditional X type. And then so that year that they won the Natty, the 2019 LSU team, Justin Jefferson ran 575 of his 583 routes out of the slot. So the whole conversation about him was similar, where it was like, he's this talent. We understand he's super talented, but he was playing the slot. Can he play on the outside when he gets to the NFL? And for me, with the level of physicality, the level of athleticism that Cooper Jr. showed, he ran a 4.42 40 at the combine this past week. which again, we take those numbers with a grain of salt, but I do think it showed up a bit there where he had a third gear getting down the field. He had an ability to elevate and make plays, make these ridiculous acrobatic catches, had really strong hands. He has a ton of untapped potential when it comes to his athleticism and what he already showed, what Randall talked about, with the run after catch and the ability to already show there, play those sit in zones, be smart with running his routes. I do think that he is a guy that has a lot more to give when he gets to the NFL and he's unlocked more instead of being pegged as more of a slot-only type. And the other thing that I absolutely love about him is that Cignetti coaching style rubbed off on him. He blocks his ass off. He is probably the most talented guy in that wide receiver room, and he blocked and fought harder than half the guys on any team they faced. Like, he was a dog. And whether it was we're coming back and making the tackles, making sure he was the guy getting a helmet, I'm the guy who has an interception, the rare times Mendoza threw him, or he's making blocks for Roman Hemby or clearing the ways for Elijah Surratt. He was both the guy who would get the ball on those screens and also be the blocker in front. So he's a guy that is built right, wired right mentally, has a ton of upside athletically, and I think has a lot more to show in the NFL than what he was able to do for that Indiana team in the role that he did play.
This is Deebo Samuel. This is young Deebo Samuel, kind of. I think if you look at
I'll take that too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to do comparisons, and I hate comparisons. I mean, I like him a lot. I think he can go in and out. I think he's an inside guy and outside guy. I don't think he's limited to slot. I really don't. I think he can play outside as well. He does one thing, obviously, that I like, which is he's really good against beating press. Really good against beating press. Yeah, I think he's really versatile. I think you do a lot of stuff with him, and this opens up a lot of things offensively that you can do with a guy this versatile. I like this guy a lot.
Okay, so one thing I would like to say, like podcast disclaimer, the reason that Casey Concepcion was covered before Omar Cooper Jr. was simply based upon who started between Randall and Owen. Had the order been reversed, we would have covered the players in reverse order.
Right.
So that is nothing about right, because if we look at the top 7 of Randall and Owen, the players are the same. With I think the only exception is Boston's in the top 7 for one of you, and he's not for the other. But other than that, it's the same receivers in a different order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a clear differentiation of like the top of the class versus everybody else.
For sure.
So, and at that point, I'm trying to remember who was covering who. That was
I'm up next with.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Owen, you are up next.
Wait, I thought. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I sniped Randall, and he sniped me right
Omar.
back.
Yeah.
All right.
So this will be a quick one. I know we're getting towards the end of our time here. My number 4 receiver is going to be Carnell Tate. I've kind of been lower on him, and there's a whole joke running with me and Newt that I'm lower on Ohio State wide receivers because I wasn't as high on Emeka Egbuka last year. But for me, Tate's a guy that is going to excel exactly what Jerry was saying he wants from a wide receiver. Being a guy that wins at all 3 levels. He's not a burner, but for my money has the best routes at full speed, moving down the field, having the head fakes, having the ability to unlock his hips, to weave in and out and get corners to bite on him, running a post or running those comebacks and letting him be. I've never seen guys with more wide open separation down the field than I have with Carnell Tate. And one of the knocks I had on him was he was never really asked to be a jump ball guy because he was just always so wide open. So it was never a problem of, can he be a jump ball guy? It was just he never was asked to do it. So he's a big body guy who excels down the field despite not being super fast. If you want to look at like a Mike Evans comp, that's where you're looking at Carnell Tate. I'm not the best with comps, but for a guy that wins vertically without being a true burner, but still can win with physicality in the short to intermediate to create himself some open lanes, I think you got Carnell Tate there. It's just going to be how can you utilize him, and do you have an opening for an X receiver, which the Bills do have. So I do have him as my number 4 guy there.
Yep. So, Randall, I have a slightly different question for you.
Yeah,
so if you were to look at your top 7 receivers, is there such a difference in grade that you would say, I'd rather have my wide receiver 2 than the 7th guy, to where you would need to trade up to go get him? Like, is the difference in what the offense would get for Buffalo that much different if we traded up to get your number 2 guy versus we got your number 7 guy?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no. For the fact, and there's other tangibles in it. Like as Jerry said, we have a lot of needs. And trading up for a wide receiver means we're losing a pick that we need elsewhere. And it is a Brandon Beane cop-out, but our offense still scored a whole lot of points. And I think if we, between 1 and 7 on our list, if we got one of those guys and got another free agent guy and made sure that we fixed what was needed on the offensive line, we could make it work because now we're getting more defensive pieces that are needed for Jim Leonhard. So in a holistic way, I would rather not, because I think we can make it work because we have Josh Allen, James Cook, good offensive line coach that's coming over that's new, and Joe Brady.
So, Jerry, any thoughts on trading up for a wide receiver versus just getting one at pick 26?
I mean, if the 40 time of Tate pushed him down to the point where it was advantageous, yes. Other than that, no. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but we pay our quarterback a lot of money. He makes a lot of money. And it's hard. It's really hard to get, especially the receiver position, to get players. So, it might be difficult. But seriously, I'm with Ray. I don't want to trade away picks, especially 27 picks. Those are vital. We need those as well. Yeah. So I think there's enough really there.
Have a history of trading away future picks. Right? I'm not worried about him trading 27 picks.
I mean, I think if he does anything, it's he sees wide receiver value and can work with somebody early in the second round to get out of the first, maybe to move to get value in the second. But I don't know if he does that. I think he probably stays put, but you never know. He talked about it the other day. He's an aggressive guy, and guys got to talk him from doing that. So, but if it's the right person, I can see it. But yeah, I think we'll stay put, honestly.
Yeah.
So, Owen, for you, when you look at your board, top 7, is there a difference between, let's say, player 2 and player 7 to where you're willing to give up a draft pick to get the guy that's higher?
I mean, I would say there is a significant difference from I have so my top 2 are close, and then the number 3 is also in that kind of bucket, and after that there's a drop. So from my top 3 to Tate at 4 is a bit of a smaller drop. So I don't know if I would trade up a ton to go get Tate. You'd say if he's at 26, you take him. If not, my hope is that because I'm so high on Cooper Jr., he just falls to 26. But
what pick would it be? What pick would it be to trade up for Tate? For me, I think if Tate made it to 18 or 19, I would take him. He's my wide receiver 1 fit for Buffalo without a doubt. It's if you don't want to pay George Pickens $38 million, if you don't want to pay Alec Pierce $25 million, you trade up and get Carnell Tate at pick 19 or pick 20, and he is that outside X guy.
Guys, I agree. It would have to take something really wild for that to happen for him to be there that late.
Exactly. There was a mock draft. This is a fake, not happening hypothetical for sure.
Yeah. Well, there was a mock draft I saw today from I can't remember which site. I don't know if it was A to Z or one of these more reputable sites, and they had Tate going at 25. Yep. And then I think Randall, do you quote tweeted it?
Who did?
Oh, I did. I said everybody all Bills Mafia's heads would explode because Concepcion was taken at 24 and then Tate was at 25. And then we took Boston at 26, I think.
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who did this blasphemy?
Oh, I'll tag you, Jerry.
Okay, please do. Please do.
So I want to address this comment in the chat. And Jerry, I think this goes right into what you were saying there a second. I think the biggest issue is the volatility of the wide receiver ranking.
Right.
So if we look at Randall's rankings and we compare them to Owen's, they're in a relatively different order. One is Omar Cooper Jr. at 7. The other is Omar Cooper Jr. at 2 on the wide receiver board. I know Owen's grade on Omar Cooper Jr. is a top 10 grade in the class. Correct, Owen?
Yes, close enough. Well, 11.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, 11. I'm sorry. Yeah. This engineer needs to learn how to count. Sorry about that. But the rankings are very volatile. There's some people that Randall podcasts with that don't want Makai Lemon until round 2. And then there's plenty of other people in the draft community that are saying that Makai Lemon is going to go in the top 15 and he shouldn't drop past Carolina at 19, right? Those types of things. So I think the bigger issue is because there's not a clear group of guys at the top, right, unless Jordan Tyson wasn't hurt. I think if Tyson wasn't hurt, he's probably going in the top 5.
Right.
But it's the injury that's going to push him down.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He's my wide receiver 3 because of the injuries when it comes to Buffalo, because sometimes Buffalo has bad luck and cold weather affects people differently, and I would be nervous. I would love if Jordan Tyson were to fall to 21 or 22. There's no reason why I wouldn't trade up for him. But he is that dynamic. I think he's got the best routes overall in the class. When you include the full route tree, and the way he moves his body throughout his route running is incredible. His top half does not match his bottom half, which is perfect. Everything about high pointing the ball, strong hands. He does have it all.
Yeah, Tyson is what I think. I think he's the best receiver in this class. I mean, he's my number 1. We're removing injuries from the equation. If, there's going to be a risk factor there, which is going to make him fall a bit more. If he was at like 20, I'd definitely make like a small trade up if that was the case. But even then, I don't even know what the value would be to move from 26 to 20 at that point. So he's a guy that does everything. He has size. He weighed in at 6'2", 200. Can go up and get it, has athleticism to burn down the field, can be explosive, wins on the outside. And unlike Tate, I do think he adds a different element when it comes to the run after the catch, being more creative there, having some more shiftiness. I do think he's a guy that adds that extra dimension to his game outside of being a bigger body guy on the outside. He wins. He has really smooth routes, has the ability to decelerate and come back down, elevate, win above the rim. He does everything you want. It's literally just the injuries. And he had some drop C's in 2024. He had 1 drop in 2025, but he also played limited games, so there was a smaller sample size. He went from 7 drops to 1 drop in 2024 to 2025.
Okay. So anybody have any parting comments on wide receivers for the Buffalo Bills? I'm sure this is not the last time we are going to talk about wide receivers for the Bills on a podcast. But I really like the way that the 4 of us were able to kind of dissect what the wide receiver class is, because we covered guys from day 3 right up till the top of the draft. So all of you guys that was just really well done. But Jerry, any additional comments?
Yeah, I do have a question for Owen and Randall real quick. It doesn't need to be long-winded or anything, but as far as Skylar Bell from Connecticut, a guy that really made a big move at the combine, showed a tremendous amount of athleticism, good 40 score, vertical was 41, broad jump 11-1, great numbers. Day 3 option, possibly. Do you like him or not? As a day 3, I mean, I think even with a great combine, I still think he's either top part of day 3 or bottom part of day 3. I think he's still a day 3 guy, but thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think he's definitely good, and I think the combine is going to up his value, especially coming from Connecticut, which is a smaller school. I wonder if he's going to be able to live on the outside, because even though he is that 6 foot plus, he does struggles with some physicality. So you might be looking at another kind of slot type player. So if he can perform better on the outside, then maybe. But for me, unless, again, if we're going back to the lower end of the group we had, where it was like these explosive guys from the slot.
Yeah, I'm with Owen on that. I think he's strictly a slot guy. Honestly, his combine matched what his tape was, to be honest. I thought he looked very fluid and pretty quick over at UConn, but I agree. I mean, he's a full slot guy, but he's a very good one. So he would be in that maybe 17 range in the top 20 if we went top 20.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Randall, why don't you let everybody know about the other podcasts that you do, and we can close this down.
All right. Yep, I do Do Champions on Mondays at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. It is a Buffalo Bills podcast that we do every Monday. Tuesday, I'm here with these lovely guys, which is absolutely incredible. It's one of my favorite days of the week. And I don't even know what we're doing next week, but we'll figure it out. And then on Wednesdays, I do Team MBS Media with Bill Carroll and Greg Rector and Jeff Barnes. It's our NFL Draft Central where we go through top 5, top 10s. We do first round mocks. I also write for the Arkansas Razorbacks and Buffalo Bills. Tomorrow dropping is my pre-free agency first mock draft before the free agency hits, just to do it. And then I'm going to do a post-free agency mock and then probably take a break until April and start doing them again. So check it out.
Owen.
Yeah, so you can find me here two nights a week. I'm here on 9 p.m. on Tuesdays, and then tomorrow I'll be back with new. We're talking corners, safeties, and slot defenders tomorrow. And as well as you can find me over on the Weekly Huddle on YouTube and at Twitter at Weekly Huddle, where you'll see a bunch of my takes there. Me and Randall interacting, me and Jim interacting. Jerry is I've been in the comments, but he's he big times me sometimes on Twitter. So we'll work on the interaction.
Damn. Owen just calling me out. Maybe it's your name, and I get confused, and I think I need to treat you like my son, who has the same first name. Maybe that's what it is.
I can believe it.
Just cognitive. Yeah.
All right, Owen. Well, if that's the case, I will make sure that I reach out on the Twitter thing. I don't want you to feel that way. I like you very much, so I'm sorry if I gave you a compliment.
Jerry responds to me on Twitter.
I guess I'll just leave then.
Yeah.
All right, then let me write that down. Respond to Owen when he texts or tweets. You can find me on Locked On Bills, the Bill Squad on Tuesdays or Mondays and Thursdays with Jeremy White and Joe Marino. I'm also part of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Crew with Joe Miller and John Fina, former teammate of mine. I do a show called 7 Days of Sunday on Wednesday night. I do that with Sig Fracassi, who is from the Sirius XM NFL Network, a Western New York native, and do a show with him. And then we just started this new deal with Joe Marino on Locked On. So it's not Bill Squad. We now have an afternoon short show every day of the week on Locked On, not just you got the normal Joe Marino show that's 30 minutes. We now do a 15 to 20 minute short every afternoon, Monday through Friday, and I'm doing those with Joe Marino as well. Those have been really fun. Those are a good time where we take a real specific topic. Some of it is herd mentality questions, whatever, and we take a real specific topic and we concentrate on that for about 20 minutes and cover that. So that's been a good time as well. So that's where you can get me.
So Randall, next week we are doing Draft a Team.
Oh yeah.
For players that fit the Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
We all are going to draft a team?
So Draft a Team is the four of us will be snake drafting a starting 11 offense and a starting 11 defense from the draft pool. And it's
okay.
Jerry, this is a lot of fun. Like, this is a Draft Professor special.
Strictly
All right.
Buffalo Bills. Strictly Buffalo Bills.
Oh, I have some takes ready to go for that one now.
Yeah.
Always gonna just take Barham in the first just to clear the air.
That's right. We'll get Barham and
Stamp it.
who's your guard from Wyoming that'll get us? We'll get in the second. Barnett.
Caden Barnett.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Caden Barnett will go in the second.
Play safe, Owen.
So Jerry, we're all going to get to talk about our guys. You can talk about Vega. You can talk about Besantis.
I just make sure, Owen, we take the biblical corner from Washington in some point in the draft. I want him.
Ephesians
Yes,
Ephesians.
Ephesians.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes, I'm in.
So,
Yes. I need a biblical corner.
Yep. So we'll give everybody 88 players that could become Buffalo Bills in the draft, and they're going to be we're going to be covering every position on the podcast. So
This would be awesome. This would be a good
It
time.
is.
I love that.
my first podcast ever with Randall was me showing him draft a team, and now Randall can't get away.
Yeah,
It's so much fun.
yeah. It's
Awesome.
fantasy football drafting on crack.
It is.
Sweet.
It is. So for Jerry, Randall, Owen, and myself, thank you so much for watching. Have a good night. We will see you on a podcast again tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.